Hi everyone. I'm Ella. Today we're talking about my Project Aquascope, and its implications with some cool SDGs. Just a little bit about myself. As I said, I'm Ella. I am a rising high school senior from San Diego. I go to a school called Canyon Crest Academy. A little bit of background on me. I have been involved in MUN my entire high school experience and have served as president last year and will serve this coming year. Um, some background on my involvement with the SDGs. I have founded a program on my high school called SHE, which stands for Sustaining Humanity Through Education. This focuses on the SDGs, gender equality, and access to quality education. Um, and then, of course, Vivian and I founded Project Aquascope, which we're talking to you about today, which focuses on climate action and sustainability. And if I had to have one kind of line that I stand by, it would be the way to be successful is to serve your community in a way that lifts others up. Now Vivian's gonna share about herself a little bit.
Yep. So, hi, I'm Vivian. I'm also a rising senior at Canyon Crest Academy in San Diego. And I have always been interested in using my abilities to help out the greater global community. And I see we have people from all over the world today. So, yay. And I also joined MUN in CCA. And also, I joined CCA's Conservatory for the Humanities and Speech and Debate to hone my critical thinking skills and increase my awareness of global issues. And as a student, I believe the most powerful way we can create change is to spread our curiosity and knowledge to others, especially to those who aren't given the same opportunities as us. And since I'm also passionate about STEM, I joined service organizations such as Casa de Amistad, where I tutor students in math, and also, of course, this project, Project Aquascope, to help serve my community.
Awesome. So now I'm just going to go over a quick presentation outline on what this presentation will include and what we kind of hope you get out of it. So first, who are we? We just went over that. We're going to tell you a little bit about our project history because our project was like pretty drastically different about a year and a half ago. And then we're going to speak about how and why our project evolved, our new kind of 3 pillars, which is what our project is built on, why we chose the SDGs that we chose to focus on in our project. We're going to share about what we believe makes us unique, which is our original curriculum. And then we're going to have a little, I guess, advice session and a little bit of an activity for you guys. And then we'll share some summer events that we have going on and future kind of goals and events that we have going as well, that we really, really hope you guys will consider participating in. It would be really awesome. At the end of the day, this presentation, we're just really hoping you'll be able to gain some inspiration on how you can take action on the SDGs, because it doesn't need to be as complicated and hard as some may think, me included. So a little bit about our project history. As Vivian kind of mentioned in her background slide, we're both part of a program at our high school called Envision Conservatory for the Humanities. And in this, during our first year in the program, there was a project called Foldscope that had already been created, and we both began to work on it. And basically, this project was drastically different than Project Aquascope. And we consider them to be kind of 2 separate things looking back in hindsight. But the old objective of this project was to basically piggyback off of another organization called Foldscope Instruments and kind of piggyback off of what they had sought to do, which was to solve an accessibility problem in science. And the way Foldscope Instruments was doing this was they had created a $1 origami microscope. I'll just preview the next slide really quick so that you can see it. It looks like this. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but it looks like this. and they had basically purchased some of these Foldscopes from the Foldscopes Instruments organizations and paired them with some of the biology labs and curriculum that we already had at our high school. And we started to distribute the labs and the Foldscopes together to schools, not only locally, but globally. And just a couple examples of what these labs were about. One of them was DNA extraction, another was plant versus animal cells, like comparing and contrasting them. Another was flower anatomy, another water purification. So just to kind of give you an idea about what the old project Foldscope was kind of about, they were exclusively STEM related, and it was all about using a $1 origami microscope to open the eyes of underserved students to a new world of science. And then under these objectives, we were able to do a couple of cool things that were instrumental into like our evolution a little bit. One, we were able to work with a couple schools globally. The most notable connection we made was in Panama. I don't know if we have anyone from Panama in here, but at the middle school, Escuela Homero Ayala, we were able to donate some lab supplies, including these Foldscopes, and our lab series to a couple schools there. And we were able to actually travel there to perform the labs with the kids. And we also did this locally to kind of test our labs out before we traveled all the way to Panama. And then we were recipients of a couple grants, local grants. Yeah, but our evolution really was a couple of things that Vivian will touch on.
Yep, so this year, when the two of us took on Project Aquascope, we really sought to expand our impact. So first, we looked at Project Aquascope's past curriculum and accomplishments and realized that there was a big problem. So the curriculum that we made, other than the fact that they all utilize Foldscope instruments in some way, they weren't very innovative. In fact, like we said before, they were just standard biology labs that our project's previous leaders had adapted from their own biology curriculum. Labs such as DNA extraction, plant and animal cells, like all the most generic ones. And of course, such labs are really important and do teach core biology concepts, but a lot of this content that we were teaching was just memorization and isn't put to use in real world applications. And this is especially important for our select audience, many of whom come from places where continuing to higher education is extremely hard. And of course, we want to encourage these youth to pursue higher education, but we realize that they have a lot of barriers to overcome. And many of these youth need more vocational, practical education where they can know that they can apply their knowledge to real world skills and know that the knowledge they are learning is valuable. So what would the use of some memorized biology facts about like cell structure, mitochondria, what would the use of that be if the students weren't actually able to put that to good use? So this is where we started to reform our methodology in making an impact. So our intentions in creating standard biology labs were good, but it may not have been the best way at making an impact. And we realized we really have to pay more attention to the actual needs of the students we were trying to help and not just impose our own curriculum and ideas onto them. That was a really important lesson we learned and one that we have followed ever since like the two of us took on this project. So now you might be wondering, like, why did we change from a project that was mainly centered on STEM education to one that focused specifically on environmental science? So Ella will take it away with our story to Panama.
Yeah, so basically, as Vivian kind of previewed, the objective and the name of our project changed when we visited the schools in Panama. And this was because of a couple of things that we noticed. So one, when we were performing these standard biology labs with the children in the beginning, they were super interested and it was super awesome, like within the first like 10 minutes, I guess. But less so with the actual biology, more so with the Foldscope, because it is pretty cool if you think about it. Basically a piece of paper and plastic, and you can see up to 140 times magnification with it. So, seeing their reaction to this and knowing that they weren't as interested in the actual biology itself, because probably, as Vivian said, there wasn't really any practical application for it. We began to kind of notice that in the back of our heads, we kept that. And the second thing was the science teacher at the school actually showed us that a project the school had started. He pulled us aside and was like, come look at this. We made a garden for our school. And basically they created the garden to provide fresh produce for the children at the school because many of them were suffering from food scarcity. And this kind of made us realize the things that these kids were going through. And as Vivian said earlier, it made us realize their actual needs. They probably wouldn't benefit as much from a highly abstract biology curriculum as they would with something a little bit more practical in its application. So this caused us to reevaluate our focus and shift it ultimately. So the old curriculums that the old group had kind of just copied from the labs at our own school, we sought out to make a new science curriculum that really embodies three traits. One, needs to be practical. Two, it needs to be beneficial. And three, it needs to be engaging. So how we started this was we thought back to when the science teacher pulled us aside to show us the garden, and we began to kind of mix the two. We began to research the overlap of gardens and agriculture with science, biology in particular, because that's our background. And we found something called aquaponics. So if anyone doesn't know what aquaponics are, I didn't either. Aquaponics is a system of aquaculture in which the waste produced by any animal living in the system, it's most typically fish. The waste created by the fish provides the nutrients for the plants to grow, and then the plants in turn, they filter out the water so the fish can swim in it. And we were, I don't know if you guys can see my cursor, but these diagrams here are images of aquaponic systems. But really what we were super inspired about with learning about aquaponics was the sustainable nature of aquaponics. It was so cool and so mind-boggling that such a simple kind of system was completely sustainable and offered some practical solutions to some really real issues that the kids we wanted to work with were dealing with. So yeah, Vivian can talk a little bit more about that.
Yep, so aquaponics, we will talk about it later in our presentation and how we turned aquaponics into kind of like our own lab series. But overall, like our focus definitely shifted from just STEM to more about the environment. And this focus on the environment would also allow us to teach students not just biology, but biology with real world applications where they can actually utilize their problem solving and critical thinking skills to solve prevalent environmental issues in their community and the world at large. So no longer is our focus on just teaching biology labs that were memorization based, but more innovation and thinking outside the box based. Because after all, aquaponics is a very like a technological innovation that scientists use like synthesize many different areas of science to come up with as a practical solution to like many of the world's problems. And so let's go on to the next slide.
Let me unmute myself. So basically we kind of, after we had this little revelation, I guess you could call it, we started to kind of found a new project on three pillars, which are SDG focused. So our STEM education pillar originated from the old project. It originated from Foldscope. And it basically came from the thought that most people are deprived of high quality STEM education due to the high expenses of lab equipment and hands-on curriculum. We understand that a lot of schools cannot purchase the hefty costs, or yeah, they can't purchase microscopes or any of the other lab equipment that can get really pricey really quick. This is what Foldscope Instruments, the original organization, sought out to do with these Foldscopes. We still are really tied to that cause and mission because we do believe that STEM is super valuable, and not being able to afford a microscope shouldn't really hinder one's pursuit of STEM knowledge. And then another one is many of the solutions to the world's greatest problems lie in the field of STEM, one way or another. So we believe that that knowledge is super critical, and that everyone should at least have the opportunity to learn it. Um, our second pillar, environmental sustainability, originated from realizing that we needed to, in order to create something that's really useful and valuable, we needed to not only educate on STEM concepts, because we understand that a lot of them can get super abstract, like abstract biology concepts that don't really apply to everyday life. But we needed to focus in on practical environmental issues that affect everyone. We think that like information and knowledge is critical. Our labs seek to get the people who are doing them invested in the future of the environment by prompting them to think critically about human impact on the environment. So kind of evaluate, like, how am I interacting with the environment? How is my community interacting with the environment? Are there any improvements that can be made, etc. Yeah, so we basically ask youth to look at their communities and determine how resources are being used, how can they be conserved, and what changes can be made to protect the natural world. And then our third slide, youth empowerment, came from the realization that the best way to make a large impact is encouraging youth to create their own grassroots projects. So I know Model UN Impact does a lot of this, especially with their SDG challenge, I believe it's called. We have that same pillar. This goes hand in hand with global collaboration, which is SDG number 17, in that grassroots initiatives are instrumental in producing global citizens and mobilizing them to tackle universal issues, but on a local scale. Grassroots initiatives are basically the thought that the best, most effective projects for a community is made by that community for that community, rather than another, like a third party coming in and trying to fix everyone's problems. A way that we promote this kind of ideology that the local people of a community should be the ones to take the action is our Aquascope's ambassadors program. This program encourages youth to start their own projects, and we'll talk a lot about this later on in the presentation when we have like links to specific opportunities for you guys. But any Aquascope ambassador will be kind of given the tools to elevate their community in any way they see fit. We'd love to conference with you guys and just be of any help that we can be. Yeah.
So our three pillars that Ella just mentioned reflects a combination of many of the different sustainable development goals, ranging from education and equality to environmental preservation and global collaboration. And now you may ask, why these specific SDGs? So the most important reason is because the Project Aquascope team is truly passionate about these SDGs. For example, one of the core SDGs of our project is quality education. So first, we evaluated our status as students, especially as students who are privileged enough to receive the quality education we do get from our high school. Yet while we are given these opportunities, we recognize that there are many others who aren't. And also, as students and minors, there are still a lot of limitations, such as like legal issues that may hinder our efforts to fight for our cause. But we do have the power that knowledge gives us, and it is this knowledge that we've acquired from our educational institutions that we wish to pass on to underserved students. And second, education is oftentimes the root and solution to many of the other SDGs. Like, for example, the cycle of poverty occurs because without education, it is extremely difficult to lift oneself and one's children out of poverty. And then poverty would exacerbate economic inequalities and take a toll on one's good health and well-being. So as you can all see, it's a chain reaction. All of these SDGs are inextricably interrelated with each other and with education. So knowledge is power, and education is a right that no one should be denied.
Yeah. We thought we'd kind of share some like our personal connections to these SDGs to kind of like give you guys a little bit of an insight about where this passion comes from. So for me, for example, I have really strong connections to SDG like 4 and number 10, quality education and reduced inequalities. My parents, I'm Iranian American. My parents grew up in Iran, and we belong to Iran's largest minority religion, which is called the Baha'i faith. And in Iran, they actually deny Baha'is of attending college. They're not allowed to receive higher education. So obviously, this created some difficult barriers for people in my family, including my parents, and yeah, basically some of my other family members. So this kind of has empowered me to take on these SDGs in basically any project that I do pursue, because they hold that special place in my heart. And I'm sure each and every one of you guys has some connection to some SDGs out of the 17. Yeah, that's it for me.
Yep. So, like Ella shared about, at Project Aquascope, we strongly believe that education can solve many of the world's most pressing issues and that everyone should receive quality education. So, that is something we promote. And lastly, we focus on quality education because, like Ella said, it is something that really resonates with us personally. Many Project Aquascope members have parents who are able to use education to better themselves and provide more opportunities for themselves and their future children. So to share like my connection, my father worked, studied, and educated himself, despite from coming from a really rural area in China that was really lacking quality education. And he would always tell me that he used all his scraps of savings to buy extra textbooks and study materials that his school was not offering him and didn't have the opportunity to offer him. And it was through his hard work and educating himself he was able to make it to where he is now. So instead of being stuck in the poor rural village, he was able to come to America to pursue a better job and life. And of course, I have him to thank for me being here right now and speaking to you all. So therefore, I have a really strong personal connection with how important education is. So I'm extremely passionate about advocating for education. It is a cause I strongly believe in. And there are also many success stories out there, like my father's, all highlighting the power of education. Yet there are also many out there whose success story is just waiting for them. They just need to be given the opportunity for education in the first place. So we talked a lot about education. Now let's move on to the environmental SDGs. So why did we choose these? Well, to really get kids excited about learning, we have to make sure that their learning can be applied to tangible real world problems and that they can use their knowledge to make a difference. So as mentioned before, humans obviously have a very obvious impact on the environment, especially in the modern world with like global warming and all that. So a focus on the environment not only offers a way for students to practice problem solving skills and realize their capacity to be change makers, it is also of utmost importance that we spread environmental awareness to these youth who are the next generation of leaders, and hence our focus on youth empowerment. So changes in the environment, such as global warming, are irreversible, and the impactees are the future generation. So this future generation must be ready to unite with their problem solving skills to solve these environmental issues and protect our Mother Earth before it's too late. And then how we linked environment to SDG 17 is that environment affects everyone because we all live on the same Mother Earth, right? So that's why Project Aquascope really strives to become a global project with international partners. And right now we currently have partners in Panama, Belize, Tijuana, Liberia, Kenya, and more. So as youth, being able to interact with people from other countries also promotes cultural awareness to help us become global citizens in the future. So SDG 17 requires cooperation and understanding of different viewpoints, which is something that Project Aquascope also helps promote. So this is going to go back to kind of the aquaponics system that we were telling you all about. So as we said before, we were writing a new lab series that was more focused on the environment and had more components of critical thinking in them instead of just facts and memorization. So our discovery of aquaponics gave rise to our first lab series, which is called the Sustainable System series. Since an aquaponics system was a technological innovation that basically synthesized many different cycles, such as the nitrogen cycle, oxygen cycle, and more, we basically decided to work backwards. So in these lab series, we would teach students about the Earth's major cycles and then ask them to use this newfound knowledge and invent a system that is self-sustainable. So it is the process of how students use their creativity to come up with their own sustainable system, whether that be similar to aquaponics or not, that is really important. It really fosters this type of critical thinking skill, which also alters the mindsets of students by allowing them to realize the impact of their actions, not only on the environment, but in society as well, in that they can definitely be change makers, especially with the knowledge they acquire. We also, in these labs, we also connect each of our cycles to human impact to foster change in the behavior and perspective of students towards the environment. So overall, these labs not only fit within our STEM education pillar, but also environmental awareness and youth empowerment. So this is the reason why we chose these three pillars as the foundation for our project, in that they are all really interconnected.
Yeah, so now we're just gonna go into some general advice that we feel would have kind of like helped us. Yeah, so the first step I would take is ask yourself, what are you passionate about, and more importantly, why? So this can be tied back to like our little SDG kind of slide, why we were passionate about those specific SDGs, how have they impacted our lives? Yeah, so like what kind of personal connection do you have, and why do you have it? And then second, think about what your skills are, and what you enjoy doing, which is keyword there is enjoy. Um, I think this is a step where a lot of people kind of like get discouraged, like me included. I'm super guilty of this. Like if you're not super good at the skills that society has kind of deemed as like useful, like maybe like coding or math or something, doesn't mean that you don't have something super valuable to contribute to the world. Like basically anything that you enjoy doing can be turned into something that's like productive and positive for the entire human race. So three, brainstorm how you can culminate your skills with what you are passionate about. So this is basically just adding, put one and two together. What are you passionate about? Why? What are your skills? So how can you put those together to create positive social impact? Four, this one's super important. Talk to people. You never know who will help you, and especially right now, there's so much interconnectivity with like social media. I know we're all stuck in quarantine, but there's no shortage of people who want to help other people, especially youth who are super passionate and motivated about helping the world. And also talking to people just like about your ideas and like basically whatever helps you kind of like build in your mind what you want to do. I found that like when you're talking to people and they're asking you like, oh, why do you want to do this? How are you going to do this? It kind of forces you to think on the spot like, oh, how am I going to do this? And like building it together in your brain, if that makes sense. And five, take risks and try new things. I know this one is super cliche, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it. You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. It's definitely true. I think even if you're afraid to kind of, we changed the entire course of our project. And that was kind of just a risk for us. We were comfortable as Full Scope, but we wanted to do more. And I think that's one of the best decisions we've made. So I guess Vivian can talk a little bit more about this.
Yeah, so especially like taking risks and trying new things, we believe that really is important. And kind of like our entire presentation was like about kind of our evolution and how we realized that in the past, our project, we did have good like intentions, but our like efforts maybe like didn't really make an impact. So definitely don't be afraid to like just try things out and just start your project with some like initial ideas you have. Um, and even if you go on several detours in order to find your way like back into the actual like right path to go down, it's all worth it. It's definitely worth it. Like we learned so much from like making mistakes and like trial and error. So definitely just take risks and try new things and just
Yeah.
catapult your project. Just like start. Starting is the first step.
Yeah, it's true. And we still have 1,000 more mistakes to make. We're still trying to grow and improve ourselves. So it's like an ongoing thing. You just have to start. Um, Next, we're going to do like a small little interactive activity with you guys that kind of um, builds off of what we just talked about of our general advice. Basically, we're asking you to do step number 3 to brainstorm how you can make social impact, to just kind of show you that it doesn't have to be as conventional as you might think. So Vivian, you want to start off?
Yeah, so actually I see in the chat that some people have already shared. I mean, Priyal has already shared that she's like planning to do a blog about SDGs. That's like really cool. And you asked about an interview. We would love to be on one of your interviews. In fact, we would really be honored to. So if you can like save our contact info when we bring it up, definitely like hook us up with it. And then also Christopher, definitely like as please keep our contact info and please contact us. Like all of these ideas are so critical, and the fact that you guys are all from like different parts of the world, it really makes an impact, and we can all like make an impact if we all like unite. So back to this like mix and match activity, we just kind of wanted to like brainstorm some ideas with you and just show you how innovative like different projects can be. So for example, we have like 5 examples here. So the first one, it's talking about, let's say, person A. They're very good at drawing and painting, and they're very good at debate, and they really want to promote girls' education. So we would just like, Ella, do you want to walk them through this one and just give like a couple examples of how this person might like want to proceed with their project or making a difference?
Yeah, like one of the earliest projects that I was kind of inspired by, especially in creating my other program at our high school called She, was there was this movement of all these girls who really enjoyed like painting. They would go and do just like beautiful murals all around their cities, and they would be focused on girls' education. So it'd be like a girl and a pencil or like a notebook with like the girl's hand on it. I don't know. Um, so that's kind of one kind of unconventional way that these girls who really enjoyed like visual arts were able to promote the SDGs through what they enjoyed. Vivian can do.
Yeah, I'll give the example for the second one, and then later on, like for the last 3, if you all want to like type in the chat some ideas that you guys like brainstormed, definitely feel free to. So for the second one, like Ella and I, we were like researching about like youth entrepreneurs and like youth entrepreneur groups, and we found out that like one boy, I believe, he's really good at coding and AI, and he developed an app that you are able to like take a picture of a plant, like a crop, and then it'll scan it and it'll tell you like, like if it has any diseases, and then like how to treat it, which is like really, really cool. And he was able to basically use his skills in like technology to build something that would eventually help out the environment, which he was passionate about. And obviously there's many other different projects you can do that like tie together your skills and like coding and AI with the environment. So that's just like one example. So let's move on to like the next 3. You all could like do any one of them and just type in the chat. Like we really want to see like some of these cool ideas. Obviously you can see that some skills like, dancing and singing or like writing and cooking might not seem really connected with a passion, but as long as you're creative, there's definitely like always something you can do, like come up with. So it'd be really cool if you all could type in the chat just like some ideas of a project they could do. Any of these last 3 like couplets.
Yeah, we'll give you a couple seconds, maybe like a minute or something. Oh, also, I don't think I have Since I'm sharing my screen, I don't think I have access to the chat. So Vivian, if you could moderate
It
that.
says Priel raised hand. By the way, this is my first time being like a really admin. So does raise hands just mean like they want to unmute? Because you can definitely unmute and share your idea because it might be longer to type. So Priel, if you have a question or a comment. I see Arya. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, but cooking sessions in old age homes, like senior homes, that's a really good idea,
That's so
actually.
good. Yeah.
That is so good. That's really
Vivian.
cool. They can make a song about a particular issue. Yeah, that's always a good idea. In fact, like I was following this COVID-19 group. It was a group of college students, and they created like like music videos about like, COVID-19. It was really cool. Lots of good ideas in the chat. Yep, for Christopher, the cultural awareness and tolerance one, definitely like dancing and singing. You can have like festivals, like diversity concerts, and then you can like invite many different people across the world to like compete in maybe, and then different music genres. It's like a melting pot. That's a really good one.
I think we'll do like 20 more seconds of this so that we can get to Q&A at the end because we're super excited to talk to you guys.
Bake sales, yes.
Oh, I love bake sales.
Oh, for Priyal, she said she like had some network issues. Basically, what we're doing is just brainstorming like projects these different people can like start based on their skills and passions, and you can kind of look at the chat to see some ideas. Yep, cooking. There's a lot of actually like cooking channels on like different like video platforms that are just like really calming. Like in the rural village side, they like, do cooking videos, and then it's just really calming and it's really good for like mental health if you're like stressed. Yep, writing skills to write articles and blogs. Yep.
Okay, so I think we're gonna move on. These ideas are super great, you guys. I'm super impressed.
I love the participation too.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna proceed, but thanks for all the ideas. So yeah, just like getting into some of the opportunities because you guys are really awesome and we'd love to like engage with you in the future. As we said, we have the Aquascope Ambassadors Program, which Vivian, if you could put the links in the chat.
Yep.
Basically, we're just looking for youth who want to like kickstart their action on the SDGs to kind of like work with us. We're super willing to like video conference with you guys whenever you need, if you need to like flesh out some ideas, if you'd like to use our curriculum in your community, all the better. We're looking for outreach wherever. We have some super cool infographics that go along with the labs. So if you guys are interested in that, for sure, check out the link that Vivian's sending right now.
I sent it in the chat, so
yeah.
if you're interested,
or you could,
some people already said they were like interested in contacting us, so it's a great way.
And then also we have a resource page on our website. It's still being kind of fleshed out, but we have a couple resources that should help you on your journey to take action on the SDGs, including some resources from Model UN Impact and a couple other organizations. And then Vivian's going to tell you about our latest.
Really briefly, I guess, because we are like kind of crunch on time. So yeah, we had a summer kickoff event. It was also through Zoom, and we were able to get like 57 participants across so many different countries. You can see the countries listed on there. So this kind of just shows the power of like how we can still connect and still have these really important discussions that need to be discussed. Ella, do you want to do the next slide?
So kind of lastly, we're having a summer seminar series over the summer. It's starting August 7th and it goes to the 21st. And basically it's every Friday from 9:30 to 11 a.m. Pacific time. We can put the conversion to UTC in the chat. But every week is basically going to have a different theme. And each theme is related to our pillars and SDGs. So it's basically each one of our pillars put together with another social issue. So the first week is going to be about women in STEM and women in environmental advocacy. And we have some really cool girls who've started their own projects and organizations either around STEM or around the environment. Really awesome. We're going to be doing interactive portions where everyone can sort of network with each other as well and ask questions as well as hear their presentations. So, and then our next week is going to be Black, Indigenous, and people of color in environmental advocacy. We have some really cool Indigenous speakers and of course other people of color speaking about what they've done in the environmental sustainability and advocacy scene. That one should be super great as well. And then our third week is going to be all about environmental sustainability in government and the private sector. Which should be super cool too, especially the perspective of like right now, corporate and like business doesn't really mix too well with environmental sustainability, but hopefully in the coming years, the relationship between the two improves, and we're really eager to learn more about that from people who are actually engaged in both sides of the matter. So this is kind of just a sneak peek at our seminar series. Vivian's gonna put the link in the chat.
Yep, I sent the link to the like registration form. If you all could like take a minute and maybe like browse it. And obviously this is like our summer series is pretty short, so it's not a super big time commitment, but we really hope to invite all of you from all the different parts of the world to kind of participate in our meetings again, like have more discussions about these different issues. And it's like 3 Fridays, so if you can only make 1 or 2, that's totally fine. Still sign up. We really just want to see you there and be able to meet you like more personally, one-on-one, and also with like a group of diverse people. So definitely check out the link in the chat and maybe take some time to maybe fill it out. And in terms of like Q&A, we still have like 2 to 3 minutes. So there was a question from before about like our most like, you know, the biggest difficulty that we've encountered. I guess, yeah, Ella, do you want to?
I guess I was just gonna say, it's hard to kind of neglect, or it's easy to neglect your passion and like what you want to be doing in the busyness of like everyday life, like with school and everything you might do outside of school. It's sometimes when you're so tired and exhausted from all that, it's hard to kind of buckle down and being like, this is what I want to do in my life. Like I need to prioritize it. I just say like, make sure you prioritize it, because it's your happiness and it's that feeling that you're doing something meaningful in the world. So definitely prioritize it. And I know it's hard with school, like trust me, I know, but yeah.
Yeah, before our biggest difficulty was probably getting enough money to fund like to buy the full school materials and stuff like that. But overall, like that was something we managed to like do through like, you know, fundraisers. We started to have more of those, and we really realized that money isn't like the most important part. It really is like outreach to more schools to send them our labs, right? So that's how we're like outreaching and how we're able to join these different conferences such as this one. So that's one way we overcame just like focusing on money and how we didn't have enough money. But slowly through like our growth, we definitely have like applied to more grants and stuff like that to get more money as well. So all you have to do is just definitely try new things out. Whenever you reach a difficulty, just try new things.
I think it's 10:15, so we're probably going to be cut off right now. But basically, I just wanted to say, sorry, you guys, that the Q&A didn't really last very long. But if you have literally any comments, any questions, feel free to email us at projectaquascope@gmail.com. We're super attentive. We check it like a billion times a day. And also, we have an Instagram at Project Aquascope. Feel free to message us on there. Follow us. We're going to be posting a lot of updates. So please stay engaged, you guys. Engage with us. We love hearing from you, and we're super excited to hear about the ideas that you have, and if you want to
collaborate with us.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I think that's all we got for you today.
Thank you everybody for coming to this session. You can go off to your next workshops, or you can check out the social area where you can meet people from other programs like the Junior OMUN or OMUN, MUN at Home, and just get involved. So thank you for coming, and thank you to the presenters for an amazing session.